size as possible. So this climate review is for June to July 25, 2022. All right, for the content of my presentation, I'm going to discuss first the recent ENSO condition. Ano nga ba yung tinatawag nating ENSO or El Nino Southern Oscillation? And then I'm going to discuss what are the weather systems that affected the country for the same period from June to July 25, 2022. And then I'm going to provide our climate assessment, national climate assessment in terms of rainfall, and temperature, and lastly I'm going to provide a summary. So this is a very short presentation just to provide you a brief review of what happened in the past, at least in the past 2 months. So what is El Nino? El Nino, what is ENSO? ENSO is the El Nino Southern Oscillation, or it is the large scale variability resulting from the interaction between the ocean and the atmosphere in the tropical Pacific. Suffice to say, there are three phases of ENSO. We call it El Nino kapag merong unusual warming in the CEP or Central and Eastern Equatorial Pacific, doon sa gitnang Pasipiko. And then we say meron tayong La Nina kapag merong unusual cooling in the CEP. Ibig sabihin nito ay may paglamig na nararanasan doon sa karagatang Pasipiko. And then we have the neutral, walang El Nino or nor La Nina. All right, so we have different ENSO indicators that we use at least for our climate monitoring. First we use the sea surface temperature, or what we call the oceanic indicator. And from June 2022, the value for the sea surface temperature in the Nino 3.4 region is negative 0.77. Usually, nagkakaroon ka ng La Nina or unusual cooling in the CAP kapag yung temperature anomalies natin ay negative 0.5. As we can see for June 2022, mas mababa pa nga doon sa negative 0.5, kaya ito ay nasa La Nina threshold. All right, and then we also have another indicator. We use the Southern Oscillation Index. It is our atmospheric indicator. The SOI, we call it the SOI, is the standardized anomaly between the mean sea level pressure in Tahiti. Tahiti ay nandun sa Central and Eastern Equatorial Pacific, samantalang sa Darwin ay malapit sa atin, malapit sa Australia. So Darwin in Australia. And then the last value of SOI, at least in June 2022, is 21.2. Usually, kapag may La Nina ka, dapat mas mababa sa 7. So nakikita natin yung ating value for SOI is 21.2. So it is far more than doon sa La Nina threshold natin. So both the oceanic and the atmospheric indicators are saying na meron tayong La Nina levels. Okay, so meron tayo, ulitin natin, both the atmospheric that correspond to SOI and oceanic SSTA, both are saying that we are at La Nina levels. So the ENSO alert system status of Pag-asa still under La Nina advisory. So nag-issue tayo ng La Nina advisory number 10 issued on July 5, 2022. Sinabi natin dito na despite La Nina's weakening in the tropical Pacific noong mga nakaraang buwan, most climate models predict La Nina may persist until the end of the year with a maximum probability of 59% chance of persistence during this forecast during this period. And La Nina increases the likelihood of having above normal rainfall conditions in some areas of the country, and we are expecting adverse impacts associated with La Nina, such as floods and landslide that may occur, especially in the vulnerable areas and sectors of the society. Okay, weather systems that affected the country from June to July 25, 2022, we experienced thunderstorms, of course, associated with the onset of the southwest monsoon. And then we also experienced easterlies, tail end of frontal system, or what we call the shear line. We also experienced ridge of high pressure areas, HPAs, intertropical convergence zone, low pressure areas, southwest monsoon, and we experienced two tropical cyclones. May sumabit na dalawa for the period June to July 25, 2022. Nung June, meron pumasok na dalawang bagyo, si Tropical Depression Kaloy from June 28 to 30, at si Tropical Storm Doming, June 30 to July 2. Sumabit si Tropical Storm Doming. So ito yung track ni Tropical Depression Kaloy from June 28 to June 28 to 30, yung kanyang international name ay Chaba. Lumabas siya ng Philippine Area of Responsibility at nag-intensify siya even more into typhoon. Ang international name niya ay Chaba. It has a registered lifetime maximum intensity of 74 knots before siya naglandfall dito sa may bandang southern China. 74 knots that corresponds to 137 kilometers per hour or 969 hectopascal noong July 2 UTC, July 200 UTC. All right. Now, may isa pang bagyo. Meron tayong, ito yung kanyang lifetime maximum intensity umabot sa kanya ng 74 knots noong July 200 UTC. Alright, ito naman si Tropical Storm Domeng. Lumabas din siya ng Philippine Area of Responsibility. Bago siya lumabas ng Philippine Area of Responsibility, nag-intensify siya into a tropical storm June 30 to July 2 naman si Tropical Storm Domeng. Ang kanyang international name ay Aire at nagkaroon siya ng lifetime maximum intensity of 45 knots or 83 kilometers per hour noong July 1, 1800 UTC. Alright. Now, these are the tropical cyclone-associated rainfall both with TD Kaloy, Tropical Depression Kaloy, and Tropical Storm Domeng, at halos walang pag-ulan na naitala associated with these two tropical cyclones na pumasok sa Philippine Area of Responsibility, primarily because yung kanilang tracks ay dumaplis lamang doon sa Philippine Area of Responsibility at hindi sila na masyado nagtagal doon sa loob ng PAR. Now, understanding our rainfall maps, so we're going to show our rainfall maps. We have 4 colors, basically. The red corresponds to way below normal. For the yellow, that corresponds to below normal rainfall. For the green, that corresponds to near normal rainfall. And for the blue, that corresponds to above normal rainfall. At ito po yung kanyang corresponding percentage values. All right. So now, this is the actual rainfall for June 2022. This is the normal rainfall from June 1991 to 2020. And as we can see, this is the percent of normal. And then we had 4 provinces that experienced way below normal rainfall. Mostly yung mga provinces na to ay nasa Soc-Sargen at isa sa Davao Oriental. Davao Region sa Davao Oriental. And then karamihan ng mga provinces natin in June 2022 ay naka-experience ng below normal rainfall. 47 provinces po yan, sinundan ng 30 provinces na naka-experience ng near normal rainfall and 2 provinces with above normal rainfall. All right, from July 1 to 25, 2022, very fresh pa po, meron tayong 6 na provinces na naka-experience ng way below normal rainfall. So hindi pa po tapos yung July, but from July 1 to 25, we had 6 provinces that experienced way below normal rainfall. And then most of the provinces, that's 47 provinces, experienced below normal rainfall, to be followed by near normal rainfall, 24 provinces, and then 5 provinces, mostly makikita yan sa may Central Visayas, 5 provinces that experience above normal rainfall, dito sa may bandang Bohol, and dito sa may bandang Zamboanga Peninsula, and then the Davao provinces. All right, so this is the temperature assessment for and extremes for June 2022. And then karamihan ng mga provinces natin, ng mga stations natin ay naka-experience ng near average to slightly below average nitong June 2022. Yung pinakamataas na temperature na naitala natin from June 1 to 30 ay na-register sa ISU Isabela State University on June 2. Nag-register siya ng 37.2 degrees Celsius. Ang pinakamababa naman ay naitala sa BSU sa La Trinidad Benguet noong June 25, 2022 with a temperature of 14.3 degrees Celsius. So ito po yung ating observed temperature extremes noong June 2022, noong nakaraang buwan. From July 1 to 24, 2022, ang pinakamainit na naitala natin ay sa NAIA sa Pasay City, 35.9 noong July 11, 2022. Ang pinakamababa naman similarly ay sa BSU sa La Trinidad Benguet, July 5, 15.0 degrees Celsius naman yun naitala niya. But for the entire period, July 1 to 25, 2022, karamihan ng mga stations natin ay naka-experience ng near average rainfall except for some stations malapit sa Metro Manila. All right, so this is the minimum temperature anomaly and maximum temperature anomaly from July 1 to 25, 2022. All right, for the summary, for June 2022, above to near normal rainfall conditions was experienced in most parts of northeastern Luzon, central Visayas, and northern Mindanao. Elsewhere, below to near normal rainfall was experienced in the country. For the temperature, near to colder than average surface air temperatures were felt in most parts of the country. Similarly, we are still under La Nina Advisory number 10. And from July 1 to 25, 2022, still below to near normal rainfall conditions in most parts of the country were felt, except in Davao region and some parts of central Visayas, where above to near normal rainfall was experienced. Near average to slightly above average surface temperatures were felt in most parts of the country in terms of temperature for the period July 1 to 25, 2022. With that, maraming salamat sa pakikinig. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Vasconcillo, for that very informative climate review. So we've experienced mostly below normal rainfall in most parts of the country for June and July of 2022.
Yes, moving on to present to us the sub-seasonal to seasonal forecast. May I call on Mr. Juni Ruiz to present the sub-seasonal to seasonal forecast. Sir Juni?
Let's give him a round of applause, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I will be sharing the subseasonal climate forecast for 2 weeks. So the purpose of the subseasonal is it is the subset of a climate forecast. So it means a short-term climate forecast. So the outline of the presentation would be what is the subseasonal forecast? So ano ba talaga yung subseasonal forecast? Is it predictable like the weather forecast or the climate forecast? And what is the recent climate forecast of 1 to 2 weeks ahead of time? So first, let's discuss about what is the subseasonal forecast or the S2S. So it is stated here that it is a time average climate forecast with a time scale from 2 weeks up to 2 months. So unlike the weather forecast that it is up to 1 to 10 days only, and the climate forecast that starts from 1 month up to 1 year. So it acts like a bridge between those forecasts. Then the subseasonal forecast is part of the World Meteorological Organization's initiative to understand or improve the forecast skill and understanding on high impact weather events. As we know that high impact weather events happen in a period of 1 to 2 weeks, like the occurrence of enhanced monsoon, development of tropical cyclones, and other rain-bearing weather systems. So with the subseasonal forecast, or the 1 to 2 week or up to 2 months forecast, we will, or for the, especially for the Department of Agriculture, the water sector, and other planning agencies in the government, they will be able to improve the decision making and policy making, especially also with the DRR with an impending natural disaster, 2 weeks or most possible 4 weeks before that happens. So that's the purpose of the subseasonal forecast. So as I have said earlier, sa sinabi ko po kanina, it acts a bridge between the weather prediction or weather forecast, which is less than 2 weeks, and the seasonal prediction that 1 to 6 months or up to 1 year forecast. So with this, it bridges or fills the gap between the two most common forecast or prediction system. But for now, this type of forecast still on the development stage. So there are more what you call that, areas to improve as we progress on. So predictability of the subseasonal forecast. How predictable would it be? So as we know, the weather is based on what are the weather systems present up to a week. So that is how we forecast the weather system, the weather forecast. And the climate forecast is mainly based on the ENSO or the ongoing El Nino or La Nina or the neutral conditions that happens in the central and eastern equatorial Pacific, while the subseasonal forecasts are based on the occurrence or what we call the wind patterns or what we call the Maiden-Julian Oscillation or the MGO. So I will discuss later what is the MGO. So for now, these are the main sources of the subseasonal predictability. For 1 to 2 weeks or up to a month, MGO is the most common source of predictability or what do you call it? Common predictor in predicting a weather disturbance that may affect the country 4 weeks ahead of time. While for a month or two is the El Nino or ENSO Southern Oscillation. So right now we are affected by the ongoing La Nina, which had affected greatly the rainfall that are brought by the weather systems that are present right now. Then the interaction of the stratosphere, troposphere interaction, or like the water vapor content and the jet stream. So these are the three main sources of predictability for the subseasonal forecast. And over the maritime continent, which is where the Philippines belong, MGO and ENSO are the most important sources of subseasonal forecast skill. So what is the MGO? It is stated here that it is an S-word propagating, so meaning it propagates this weather disturbance characterized by cloudiness, sudden pressure change, and wind propagates from Africa and to the Philippines and to the Americas in junction with the tropical areas, or it is near the equator. It only happens near the equator. It doesn't happen anywhere in the globe. So MGO only exists in the tropical area along the equator from which the Philippines belong to. And this weather disturbance lasts from 30 to 60 days. So as we see here on the left side, so for week 1, this is the weather disturbance brought about by the MGO. So a set of cloudiness that propagates as we go along from 30 to 60 days. And the composite of these cloudiness are shown in this graph or chart. An enhanced or increased rainfall or the enhanced phase of MGO is represented by blue and green shaded, while the decreased rainfall or suppressed part of the MGO is characterized by the brown or orange shaded areas. So as we go along, so from Africa, it propagates up to America. So from which it was divided into 8 phases, where the phase where it affects the Philippines is from phase 1 up to phase 6 or 7. So it is where our country, the Philippines, is affected by the MGO. So the common effects of the MGO, especially in the country, in the Philippines, is the enhanced and suppressed rainfall in the equatorial area, including the Philippines. So first, as we can see here, back to the MGO phase is first, there is a suppressed rainfall characterized by a suppressed rainfall first, then followed by an enhanced rainfall, then followed again by a suppressed rainfall. This is a common pattern of an MGO propagation from east to west along the equator area. So MGO may mean modulation of the rainfall that are brought about by weather systems such as monsoon, thunderstorms, intertropical convergence zone, and as a common modulator of tropical cyclone activity in the country. So some tropical cyclone events have been also modulated by the MGO, especially on the last part or the last quarter of the year. So there are some tropical cyclones that even though only tropical depression, but had bring more rainfall in some areas, especially on the eastern part of the Philippines. So MGO is also a source of what we call tropical cyclone intensification and the like. So after discussing the MGO, we will be discussing the recent evolution or the monitoring of the MGO. So for the MGO, for the past 40 years, so just short discussion for the last 2 weeks, MGO had modulated the weather systems that affected our country. So as we recall, for the past 2 weeks, there are enhanced rainfall events, even though it is thunderstorm or brought about by LPAs, because we can see in this part, so it happened 2 weeks ago. The MGO is strong in the phase 4 and 5. So how do we know that the MGO is weak or strong? So we can see in this diagram, the MGO diagram, that if the lines are within the circle, it is a weak MGO, while if the lines are outside the circle, it is a strong MGO. So based on the assessment, the MGO for the past 2 weeks had affected our country and enhanced the weather systems that brought rain. So this is one of the significant parts of why we should know what the MGO is, the significance of the MGO in enhancing our weather systems. Then current monitoring of the MGO, as you can see here, the last part would be, it is in the African continent. So based here. And currently, the weather systems that are affecting our country are the tropical depression and LPAs, while the southwest is restricted by a tropical cyclone near Indonesia. So that is why we are not feeling the effects of southwest monsoon today at the current time. So for the MGO forecast, July 26 up to August 8, the enhanced MGO is characterized by the green to blue line, while the suppressed MGO would be characterized by the brown to orange line. As we can see here, the forecast of MGO would, from July to August 8, would be a suppressed phase of the MGO. It means that it may not affect the weather systems that are affecting our country. So it may also mean that less rainfall would be possible in most parts of our country in the next 2 weeks. And the forecast of the MGOs we can see here. So maybe it's not clear, but this one is the propagating one from July 26 up to August 8, or for the next 2 weeks. A weak MGO that propagates in the West Africa to the Indian Ocean here. But since this MGO is inside the circle, it is a weak or suppressed portion of the MGO. So meaning, so in the next few slides, we will be discussing its effects on our rainfall. So subseasonal climate forecast. So first, introduced here is the tropical cyclone threat potential. So this had been we presented it last January 2022 as like this. So for now, for the week 1, there are two, as presented by Sir Chris a while ago, there are two low pressure systems that are affecting our country, and the other one would be a tropical depression outside the Philippine area of responsibility. So with the forecast based on the GFS, this tropical depression or tropical cyclone may or may not enter the PAR area for the next 7 days. While for the week 2, a possible low pressure system, or commonly known as LPA3, is possible to develop outside the PAR, but also has a less likelihood of becoming a TC or a tropical cyclone and may or may not enter the Philippine area of responsibility. So for week 1, if this tropical depression may enter the PAR, then we had an active TC threat. But if not, then it has no direct effect to our country. While the week 2, there is no active TC threat because there is a low likelihood of this tropical depression to become a tropical cyclone from August 3 to August 9. So common tropical cyclone tracks for July, as we can see here, there are 3 most common tropical tracks when a tropical cyclone is develops in the PAR area. It could be a recurving one towards Japan. Another one would hit the extreme northern part of the Philippines towards Taiwan, and the other one would be a land crossing tropical cyclone in the central Philippines that would be moving towards Hong Kong or Vietnam. And the fourth one would be along southern Luzon area. So while for August, there are 4 tropical cyclone tracks that are possible. 2 recurving ones towards Taiwan and Japan. And these are the tracks that may enhance the southwest monsoon towards the western sections of the country. And the other 2 would be a landfalling tropical cyclone in the extreme northern part of the Philippines and the northern part of Luzon. So these are the possible tracks of a tropical cyclone developing on August. So for the forecast of the rainfall exceedance probability forecast. So why do we call it a rainfall exceedance? Because it is, so why is it best expressed as an exceedance in a weekly terms? Because this is a subseasonal forecast, forecasting the rainfall in a daily basis would create more or a lower scale compared to a week 1 or week 2 time scale. So that is why it is for a subseasonal forecast, it is commonly expressed as a week 1, week 2, week 3, and 4 forecast. So as we can see here, the probability of exceedance shows us if the probability of rainfall would be greater than or higher if the color becomes intense, and low probability if the color is lighter. So for the week 1, we can see here that for most of the areas in the country, there is a higher chance or higher probability of rainfall exceeding 25 millimeter but less than 50 millimeter from July 27 up to August 2. While the probability of reaching 50 millimeter or below 100 millimeter is higher in areas in central Luzon and parts of northern Luzon and west central Mindanao. While a lower probability characterized by lighter colors for the greater than 100 millimeter from July 27 up to August 2. While for the week 2 forecast, still has a higher probability of rainfall in most parts of our country from August 3 to August 9 to reach 25 millimeter but below 50 millimeter. While for the 50 millimeter and less than 100 millimeter, there is most parts of Luzon and some areas in Mindanao are forecasted to be having rainfall that are above 50 millimeter but less than 100 millimeter. And for the last, for the week, for the greater than 100 millimeter, there are some areas in the western side of Luzon that may be affected by a 100 millimeter but less than 150 millimeter of rainfall in week 2 or August 3 to August 9 period. So summary of the subseasonal forecast. So these are the possible high impact weather events that may affect the country in the next 2 weeks. In week 1 and week 2 of the 3C threat potential forecast suggests a TC which may or may not enter the PAR. In week 1, a likelihood of a low pressure area forming outside the PAR and has a low likelihood of becoming a TC. While for the rainfall exceedance, a higher possibility of 25 millimeter for week 1 and week 2, and 50 millimeter in some areas in Luzon and Mindanao for week 1, and more than 50 millimeter for week 2 in most parts of Luzon. While in 100 millimeter of probability of rainfall, for week 1, a lower chance of having 100 or more millimeter in most parts of the country, while in week 2, there are parts of the western side of Luzon that may receive 100 or more millimeters of rainfall for the week 2 coverage. And I think that ends my presentation. Thank you.